pointing towards a distant shape that only grew further, like the tip of a broken blade. I found myself swallowed by darkness, engulfed by the form. It grew teeth and whispered to me, though I know not what it said, only that it called to me.
Welcome to another installment of How to Enjoy. In each episode, we ponder 3 questions. There is no judgment here. If you leave with the same opinion, you'll at least leave knowing yourself better in this odd, wide world. Tonight, we... Speaking on the imposing black monolith featured in his 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey, director Stanley Kubrick said it is, of course, in itself something of a Jungian archetype, and also a pretty fair example of minimal art. Minimal indeed, derived from a minimally recognized movement that was spawned sporadically from isolated pockets of art across the globe for 6 quiet years in the turn of the 19th century. Kubrick's personal letters on the monolith, as well as Carl Jung's written adaptation, revealed a previously hidden pattern that would come to shock art scholars the world over. It began in 1688 in Crete, where a young painter named Dimitra Boras began to paint this shape. Findings from his personal studio revealed little of his life and success, but journals spoke at length of a 2-year-long series of dreams depicting the same polygon, smooth and distant, but striking and threatening. He went on to paint the image on more than 400 occasions, often hidden among landscapes and figure works, all of them undiscovered until the 20th century. However, a recently revisited collection of works from 1798 to 1804 have been identified with a shape, now being referred to as the Boras form, suggesting a link between Boras and this diverse group of artists. All 228 artists, painters, sculptors, poets, musicians, philosophers, wrote personal notes that at the very least hinted at, and in some cases described, the same dream had by Dimitra Boras. What does this mean? Many art historians and anthropologists have raised a number of theories, from mere coincidence to divine intervention. Skeptics have pointed out inconsistencies in colour and dimension, posing the theory of an inside joke among artists to fool future generations, but no explanation has been given to its sudden start and stop. The most prominent and divisive theory is attributed to Dr. Idil Aydin, resident archivist and art historian at Italy's Uffizi Gallery. Aydin was one of the first to connect the dots in 1962. She was contacted by a friend and property renovator who discovered the collection of works and journals when clearing the base floor of Boras' home, and donated the works to her team. Examining the painter's journals, Aydin described Boras' life as profoundly isolated and inconsistent, noting that he mentioned distant family and friends featured in his dreams whose evidence of existence to this day remains to be seen. On several occasions, Boras expresses intense frustration with a subject he calls his synergatis, or collaborator. No evidence of such a collaborator was recovered from Boras' possessions, and the subject's name is never mentioned in the journals. Considering this, Dr. Aydin suggested the existence of a metaphysical dimension of the subconscious, one that holds our dreams. Into the final years of her life, sacrificing her reputation in the process, Aydin insisted that the shape, the Boras form, was the gateway to this 5th dimension, where dreams are forever.
Let's take a closer look at
one of the artists who unknowingly participated in the Boras form movement, none other than Beethoven. For some years, Beethoven actually kept a journal, and in this journal he would sometimes write his dreams. In one of these dreams, he described seeing a shape. Now, it's interesting to look at this and imagine that he must have seen the Boras form, but we don't exactly have proof. The timelines match up with other artists who were participating in this strange art movement, but because it's sound, we have to examine it a bit more abstractly. Take, for instance, this segment from Sonata Quasi una Fantasia, or Sonata Almost a Fantasy. often known today as Moonlight Sonata. When we transpose these notes into a digital piano roll, we can see the MIDI pattern.
Computers can make beautiful music.
MIDI is a way for digital instruments to read information.
The program counts out and automatically numbers the measures, creating a musical sketch on which to place notes.
In this case, it's simply telling the instrument which note to play and what time.
And I want to load a song. I want to load a song called Ends Vision.
Which you wrote?
Yes, I composed this.
Okay.
Playing all the music.
We can stop
right now.
that for a second.
Now, MIDI was developed in the 1980s, so Beethoven would not have been able to see this displayed, and yet here it is. This next example is even more impressive, however, as it taps into what must have been a subconscious effort from Beethoven. Take a listen to this excerpt from The Creatures of Prometheus. Did that conjure up the shape of the Boris form in your mind? Probably not. But if you take that sound and break it down to its most basic tone, like this, we get an extremely simplified but faithful version of this part. Now, with this tone, we can extract what is called a spectrogram, a visual representation of sound. This technique was first introduced in the 1950s, so unless Beethoven had a certain intuition about the visual representation of sound frequency, which he very well could have, it's doubtful this was directly intended.
Yes.
So now let's take a look at what the spectrogram does to our simplified tone from The Creatures of Prometheus. There are plenty of other examples of the Boris form being hidden inside of Beethoven's music, but for now I'd like to share with you Beethoven's dream in his own words.
Ich wurde von einem überwältigenden Traum ergriffen, wie keinen, den ich je erlebt habe. In den tiefen Schlafesweiten so entrückte ich. Nein, erwachte ich. In einem Reich der Klänge, wo Noten wie berauschte Sterne am nächtlichen Himmel schwebten. Doch sie waren keineswegs bloße Abstraktionen. Sie nahmen die Gestalt greifbarer Formen und Symbole an, als ob sie die Musik selbst wären, noch ungeschrieben, als hätte ich den Ursprung meiner eigenen Schöpferkraft in den Tiefen meines Wesens entdeckt. Doch die bemerkenswerteste Offenbarung dieser nächtlichen Reise war das Vorhandensein einer Abfolge von Noten, die eine unverwechselbare Form annahm. Die Noten tanzten lautlos vor meinen Sinnen und zeichneten ein geheimnisvolles geometrisches Muster. Warum gerade diese Form unter all den anderen, die sich um mich drehten, schweigend blieb, vermochte ich nicht zu ergründen. Ich begab mich nur zu diesem stummen Bild, die mir meine Einbildungskraft zusammensetzte. Nach meinem Erwachen blieb diese rätselhafte Form in meinem Geist eingeprägt. Ich konnte spüren, dass sie möglicherweise sowohl ein Geschenk des Göttlichen als auch ein Produkt meines eigenen Seins war.
There are only 31 people. That's why when you were a kid, you had a friend named Casey. And when you moved to a new school, you found another Casey. Only his name was Jordan.
I never had a friend.
I don't even know what time it is now. I haven't been able to sleep well at all. The dreams. The dreams come nearly every night now.
Enjoying the Boris form. My dreams seem to get folded up into so many...
Getting weirder and weirder. I don't know. Just gonna try falling back asleep. I don't know. I guess I'm just gonna try falling back asleep.
Enjoy the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form. Don't touch the Boris form. Don't approach the Boris form. Don't speak to the Boris form. Don't do the Boris form. Anything or take anything from the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form. Enjoy the Boris form.
I guess I'm just gonna try falling back asleep now. Hello again. Hello again. I had another dream. I do keep dreaming about the Boris form. Hello again. I had another dream. I keep dreaming about the Boris form. Hello again. I had another dream. Why do I keep dreaming about the Boris form? I'm just gonna try falling back asleep.
Dreams are
closer than you think. Objects in the mirror are closer than you hear, closer than you think. Prospects unclear are most of the way here. Suppose they are closer.
Wasn't there... There were 4 of us, right? Wasn't there someone else? Wasn't there someone else?